Are we live?
Yep, now you're live.
All right. Welcome to this forum for candidates running for City Council representing cities in DeKalb County. There are City Council elections happening in Pine Lake and Stone Mountain. All the candidates were invited to this forum. In the November 4th general election, these candidates will appear on the ballot. I am Hillary Lynn, Special Events Chair for the DeKalb Dems. On behalf of our organization, I welcome you to this important event. Tonight, we will hear from the candidates on where they stand on public safety, economic development, housing, infrastructure, and more. We have lots of great questions that our team has prepared, and we hope to have enough time to take some additional questions from the audience. We are streaming live on multiple platforms, and a recording of this forum will be available on our YouTube channel. The DeKalb County Democratic Committee relies on donations and volunteers to present truthful information to the citizens of DeKalb County. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Brandy Weiss, Chair of DeKalb County Democratic Committee. Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Hillary. I want to start by giving a special thank you to our special events chair, Hillary Lind, as well as Gloria Moore, who were instrumental in planning this forum. Thank you so much. We are grateful for both of you. Thank you also to Amy Farrow, Lawrence Nathaniel, Dr. Bola Tillman, Leona Perry, and the rest of the tech team for organizing this essential event for our community. Before I get into announcing our moderator for this evening, I also just want to share a quick reminder of the importance of voting in local elections. So I recognize that right now, with everything that is going on across our country, across our state, that we can all be consumed with everything that is happening, and that can be our focus. However, I also want to just share that local municipalities have some of the biggest effects on our day-to-day lives. So it is really important for us to be paying attention to who is running for these local elections, what their platforms are, and how they are going to be affecting our local areas. So thank you everyone for being here tonight, for participating, and for listening to our candidates who are running for local office. I also want to thank our candidates for being here this evening. I know that everyone will get a great deal out of hearing about why they are running, what they are looking to do, and their platforms. Now I'm going to jump over to introduce our moderator for this evening. Our moderator is Tyronika Carter. She is tonight's moderator, and she is a nationally recognized public speaker, leadership strategist, and dedicated community mentor. A former educator, Tyronika has a proven record of building and guiding large, successful teams, fostering clear communication, and guiding substantive conversations. Her experience, along with her passion for community empowerment, make her a great facilitator for tonight's important civic discussion. So with all of that being said, thank you so much, Tyronika, for being here. We are so grateful to have you guiding our conversation this evening, and I'm going to pass it over to you. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Wonderful. Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be here this afternoon, this evening, as your moderator. The City Council serves as the primary legislative body of a city, collectively responsible for setting policy, passing local laws, and adopting the city budget. Council members are the direct representatives of their constituents, working to address neighborhood concerns and ensure the effective delivery of city services. The council's leadership is critical in shaping the future of their city, from approving zone for smart growth to funding the public safety departments that protect our communities. Tonight, candidates from Pine Lake and Stone Mountain are with us. Before we begin, let's review the ground rules that each candidate agreed to in advance. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to make an opening statement. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer prepared questions and follow-up questions. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to answer audience questions. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to make a closing statement. Okay, and please do not call other candidates by name. Focus on the issues and policies. Before we begin asking questions, we want to give each candidate the opportunity to introduce themselves to you. We will do this in alphabetical order, starting with the candidates for Pine Lake. Ms. Hull, in 90 seconds, please make your opening statement telling us what makes you uniquely qualified for this position.
Hi, I'm Deborah Hull. I've been a Pine Lake resident for 8 years. And I think although there are several good candidates, and I am excited for all of us to be on the campaign trail. Um, I might be perhaps uniquely qualified because I'm also an educator. I feel like I wear many different hats at work, um, from collaborating with peers, designing professional development sessions, uh, working with students, and working with middle school students at that. So my eighth grade students keep me on my toes. I have to sometimes play mom, nurse, counselor, and it's just giving me a good sense of active listening. And I think that's something that you have to do as a council member is active listening with your constituents, because essentially you're representing them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kohler?
Hi, y'all. I'm Stephanie, and I'm in Pine Lake as well. And thanks so much to DeKalb Democrats for hosting this. I really appreciate the opportunity to connect with all of you. I've been in Pine Lake for about 3 years, and I come here after spending a few decades in education and a few decades in event management professionally. And one of the biggest reasons I wanted to come to Pine Lake, besides just how beautiful it is just really the opportunity to be involved, regardless of whether that's elected office or just some other. I've been on SEED. I've served on a committee on the council. And I'm grateful to be here. And I think I bring a wide range of skills to this position. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Lowers?
Hi, I'm Jane Lowers. I've lived in Pine Lake since 2020. My wife Melissa has been here on Orchid Drive since about 2012. I'm running because I really believe that for small communities like ours to flourish, everybody has to participate where they can and contribute whatever skill set they have, so that we all get the benefits of how awesome Pine Lake is. Um, my qualifications specifically are I have a master's in public administration. I'm a scientist in the Emory School of Medicine by day, and before that, I was a journalist. So, two skill sets that I bring with me. One is I tend to be very evidence-based in my decision making, and I'm pretty good at tracking down what has worked elsewhere, whether that's policy or program. I also have a track record of being good at helping different audiences communicate with each other and explaining complex ideas so that they can make sense to everybody. If I'm elected, I want to help push forward the momentum that the current council already has in place with our business development district, but also try to connect Pine Lake residents to broader services that might otherwise be out of reach for a small town.
Ms. DeNabriga?
Thank you. It's a delight to actually meet my other candidates. This is the first time for me. I'm very excited. I moved to Pine Lake in 1997 to live with the woman that would become my wife. And we've been here ever since. We're in our second house in Pine Lake. And I was elected some years ago to a vacated city council position for 3 years and 11 months. And then I ran again for another 4 years. And then I was subsequently elected mayor for 4 years. So I have about 12 years of actually being in the trenches with the city. Things have changed since I've been on council and in the mayor's chair. But that's the nature of things. A little bit about my background. I'm a theater artist in ensemble practice. I'm now retired. I was a consultant for many years dedicated to community participatory planning. I think I'm going to bring a lot of my collaborative approach, which includes active listening, good communicator, and some institutional memory. We're losing 2 members of council who've been there for a long time, and they hold a lot of knowledge, and I hope to carry their legacy forward. I've also been, for the last 10, 15, 20 years, one loses count, been helping to run Lake Fest, if you know anything about Pine Lake, October 11th and 12th. Thank you.
Now our candidates from Stone Mountain, Mr. Freeman.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, I just want to make sure. I got in a little bit late. My apologies. Thank you for having me. As a former chair of HD88, I'm glad to be home. I'm straightforward. I've been on council for the last 4 years, and it's been quite an experience. I've enjoyed the experience, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve. And that is what exactly I intend to continue doing, is serving the community. Um, I have to say that I'm not here to blow smoke up anybody's nose. So I'm gonna say, exactly how I feel things are. I love to hold hands and say kumbaya, and everything's gonna always work out, but it doesn't always work out that way. And the council often, many councils often have a reputation of being difficult or dysfunctional to some extent. And I think as a council, as long as everyone plans on serving the community that we have, not the community that some hope to have, I think we'll all do great. Thank you.
Ms. Nunez.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Kay Nunez. I've been a proud Shermantown resident for the last 26 years. I've been a business owner and a retail leader for over 40 years. I moved here back in 1989 with my family, raised my daughter here in Stone Mountain. I walk these streets in the city every day with my sweet dog, Bo. Built a nice life and a nice community around me, and I have great relationships that I've built within this community. First of all, I'd like to thank the DeKalb Dems for hosting this important forum, and thank you for tuning in by showing up and seeking to learn more about the candidates in your areas. You're strengthening our democracy. I'm running for the City Council seat Post 4 in Stone Mountain because I believe it needs leadership. I want to lead by building unity in our city, driving progress to move our city forward, and work with integrity. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for respecting our time limitations. And now let's get right into the questions. Again, please limit your responses to each question to 90 seconds. We'll start with constituent advocacy and city services. For better constituent services, how do you eliminate bureaucratic walls? We'll start with Mr. Freeman.
So for better to break down the bureaucratic walls, it's very important. What people don't understand about city councils throughout Georgia. There's only 3 cities in Georgia, I believe, that have strong mayors. Everyone else has, for the most part, a weak council, strong mayor, a strong council, weak mayor form of government, which means the mayors breaks the tie in votes and so on and so forth. So the mayor doesn't really have as much power, say, as the council members do. So the most important thing that we want to do is the mayor is kind of like a vice president, not really like a president. So the mayor is partly administrative, partly legislative. So ultimately, who runs the city is the city manager, and in order to for the community to break down those barriers, they need to know who they need to reach out for whatever specific problem. So what I try to do is introduce them to all the department heads, or point them to all the department heads, and also teach them to engage the city manager to make sure that, because with us as an oversight function, we can't really directly intervene in what they do. So introducing the citizens to the city manager and to the department heads to have some of their concerns addressed. And then if at that point, if they can't, reach satisfaction, then I try to intervene and speak to the city manager. And I'll try to get other council members to also, try to inform them about the issue and bring it to the city manager's attention.
Thank you. Ms. Hull, for better constituent services, how do you eliminate bureaucratic walls?
Yeah. So I think the key to a healthy city is to be proactive, to communicate, to be that person that can be a bridge between a problem that a constituent is having and the right personnel. Pine Lake is so tiny, it's really easy to get in touch with the right personnel. We recently hired an acting city clerk who does an amazing job. He usually reaches back to people within 24 hours. I think the problem is when you go outside of Pine Lake, right? We can often control what happens in our city, but going outside of it, we can't always control. So when that happens, sending emails, and then the biggest thing is communicating with people what is happening, where we are in the process, and staying in touch. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kohler, for better constituent services, how do you eliminate bureaucratic walls?
I'm very comfortable with advocating for people and communicating. So my general approach is to have a lot of documentation, that even if there are phone calls, to make sure there's an email trail and an easy to follow sort of path. I'm comfortable with in-person visits to City Hall if that's necessary from time to time. But ultimately, working in education and in event management, you have to be kind of fanatically organized in terms of all the moving pieces. So, it's comfortable for me to address things even if there's conflict. And I'm very persistent, and I just won't give up, and I'll just keep going. And if there's a dead end, then it's turn around and find a different way.
Thank you. Ms. Lowers, for better constituent services, how do you eliminate bureaucratic walls?
Well, I'd like to echo Deborah's comment. I think we have the best staff in Pine Lake that we've had in the time I've lived here in terms of their responsiveness and their professionalism. I'd like to make it easier and more efficient for them to do their jobs. One thing that I'd like to see is setting some common timelines or expectations of turnaround for common tasks, whether that's filing permits or, well, that gets into the county, or it's a little bit beyond our control at a certain point, but requests to rent facilities or have a common grounds issue dealt with. I'd like to set some common expectations so that residents and the city have a common goal that they're working toward, and help everybody understand the process and the steps that are involved along the way, so that everybody knows what to expect. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. DeNaberga, for better constituent services, how do you eliminate bureaucratic walls?
Well, I'm actually not in favor of eliminating bureaucratic walls. I think walls are there for a purpose, to help preserve and elevate expertise, training, experience, and background. The problem is when people can't get through the wall. So the question comes down to access. So I would want residents to understand how they get through the door or climb the ladder, or they know what the security code is, or they know how to knock at the door, so they understand, what the process is for registering a complaint. I would talk to them to make sure they were clear about what they wanted to do, needed, or what the request was, or what the problem was. What have they done so far? what's been the response, just a little research. And based on that research, I might then have a chat with the staff about, gee, this is what I found. What have you heard from your point of view? Now, this question also sort of assumes that the resident's request is reasonable and appropriate. And I can tell you that it often is not. So then the interpersonal relationship of just trying to help people understand what the city can and cannot do. So I think it's about opening access, not tearing down the walls.
Thank you. Ms. Nunez, for better
my
constituent
resume actually-
services, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, how do you eliminate bureaucratic walls?
When a resident hits bureaucratic walls, they deserve more than excuses. My role as a council member is to really kind of step in and be their advocate, not an obstacle. I actually experienced this myself this past year, where we had a new business open up in front of my, that's going to be opening up in front of my house, and I was concerned about the traffic on the street. My neighbors were also concerned about the traffic that was going to flow on the street and lights and noise into our homes. Actually, a couple council members came down to assess what I was talking about, see what I was talking about. So, that to me, that means meeting the resident where we're ensuring that their concerns are acknowledged, that we're listening to them and following through with a resolution. I want to make city services simple and responsive, whether that's through technology. The city recently adopted a new C-Click Fix program that residents can actually report issues around the city, and it takes it to a department where that department head takes responsibility for it, and they can actually track the movement of that product or that complaint. So I think that gives us a great opportunity to educate our residents on that program, or just through direct communication by, connecting them with the right person. At the heart of all of this is respect and really listening to what our residents have to say. So to me, every resident deserves a council member that will listen and advocate for them. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. We're going to move on to our second question now. Public input in the legislative process. What steps would you take to increase meaningful public engagement and feedback before an ordinance is written? We're going to start with Ms. Hull.
So Pine Lake has done a pretty good job recently with communicating important things that are happening with the city through the Pine Lake News Blast. I would like to be able to expand on that without overburdening people. You want short, concise information to get to people quickly. I think more town halls would be beneficial, even if they were informal with just one or two council members present or the mayor present. Just to be more transparent, to explain why something needs to be done or why we're thinking of going a certain direction and how that will get done. And then what is the feedback from the public? And then work with that feedback to reassess how we're doing whatever ordinances that we're looking at. We do surveys, and I'm not sure. I think surveys are important, but I also think it's important to look at how they're worded. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Kohler, what steps would you take to increase meaningful public engagement and feedback before an ordinance is written?
I really love this question because I think it speaks to a level of intentionality that makes such a big difference in a legislative process, especially at the municipal level. And for me, like, the civic engagement in Pine Lake has really been, I don't want to say disappointing, like I'm disappointed in people, but I think there's just been a huge, like, there's not been enough efforts made across various types of ways of engaging. So I would love to see a little more organization on social media, organization that's, online but not on social media for the people who are not on social media. I'd like to see things that are in person. And I think all of that is totally possible. And talking to council members about it recently, I think a lot of it is in the works, like having a better website. I think that will make a big improvement. It's having more actual conversations and getting clearer so that we're all just better versed and better informed and just can do more and take better care of our city. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Lowers, same question.
Sure. I mean, I think it's really important for residents to understand that there's a distinction between like the function and the operation of city government as a government entity, and then the broader community of Pine Lake. And there's engagement with the city and its legislative process, and then there's engagement with the community at large. Both are necessary, both are fantastic. I'd like to see more opportunities for people to engage formally with the process of planning and refining our legislative agenda, our priorities for a limited budget. So I agree with having more public forums, inviting more people to participate through surveys. I thought the last one on our green spaces was really actually pretty well designed. There might be an opportunity to do something with the website to invite comments through that mechanism. But I think if it's going to inform our legislative process, it needs to then become sort of part of the record. And that's a distinctive process from like commenting on Facebook. So I want to help people understand and take full advantage of their role in making Pine Lake very participatory as a democracy. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Denabriga?
Thanks. I would do a couple of things. First of all, I would sort of suspend or the public comment protocol during council meetings so that people maybe could have a little longer to speak, and that we could actually have maybe a little bit of back and forth. So it's not just pronouncement, silence, pronouncement, silence. So the other thing I would do would be to really reinstitute the town halls, which I did regularly as mayor. And so not a city presentation, and it's not a gripe session. We would put chairs in circles so people could talk to each other, not to a dais, which connotes authority and control. And it's a really great way to really test the room. You can see people nodding or shaking their heads, and you get it's a wonderful way to understand where the consensus is that you can then test with some good follow-up questions. But it's about the opportunity for dialogue and to hear where people's agreements and disagreements are. And then the other thing that I might do, depending on the topic, I might see if there would be a couple of people that would like to be a task force for information gathering or research, a little advisory team. We shouldn't be afraid to delegate and involve people at all levels. Great question.
Thank you. Ms. Nunez?
Well, before an ordinance is actually written, I think residents should already have a voice in shaping that ordinance. I would expand engagement by hosting roundtables, tapping into neighborhood networks. Recently, one of our council persons have promoted a ambassador program. I think it'd be a great way to connect a lot of our little micro communities out there, to engage them, making sure that we're reaching out to our renters, our seniors, and families so that they all have a seat at the table while we are developing these ordinances. I've seen what happens when leaders shut out the voices of others. It leads to mistrust, division, disengagement. I'd like to engage more people to participate in our city council meetings. So I think we have to touch them in lots of different ways. So that's how I see this operating. I'll work hard with integrity to represent the city with pride. I'll focus on the residents and their priorities, because with that leadership. We want to unite, not divide, and hear all the voices from all those different communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman? You unmute yourself, please, Mr. Freeman.
This is really a big issue for Stone Mountain right now, especially with ordinances and zoning, because oftentimes, I'm not going to say names, but people try to implement ordinances and zoning clandestinely without community knowledge. So it's a deliberate attempt to keep people in the dark about what the comprehensive master plan of the city is and what the direction is, and whether the comprehensive master plan is even still in effect. Or, being that it's still in effect, but it's aging out. So we live in a seasoned community that is digitally disconnected, and it's also a working class community that is often short of time and money to be digitally connected. So we can't just rely on social media and surveys. As was mentioned before by my opposing candidate, that a ambassador program was created by another council member, which was, to me, be honest with you, it's a good idea if it's implemented with good intentions. Sometimes people can twist good intentions. So hopefully that plan that will be it'll be utilized properly. In the past, we've fallen short of public outreach. I think one thing that I often try to do is reach out to other council members and do either town halls, driveway talks, public outreach, door to door. We have to reach the community where they are because they can't always reach us where we're at. Very often, we have a small minority of voices. I think they're the majority of voices at council meetings because they're the ones that have time to go to a council meeting. But there's a large majority in our community that doesn't have the time or the ability to make council meetings. And so we have to go to where and knock on their doors and make sure that they're informed about what's going on with ordinances and zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Okay, we're going to move on to the next question. Let's please make sure we're paying attention to our allotted time slot, candidates, please, as well. The next one is on balancing economic growth with local character. How will you, as a council member, balance the push for economic revitalization with the need to protect the small, local businesses and neighborhood feel that define our city? We're going to start with Ms. Kohler.
I love this question too, and I am very recent, more compared to the other candidates to Pine Lake, but I came to Pine Lake after living in multiple neighborhoods where there was very aggressive development, residentially and commercially. So I've seen what happens, especially to the environment, but also to residents when there's that level of aggression. So I definitely believe in making thoughtful, big picture decisions, not just cash grabs, and really having good boundaries to protect how affordable housing is for residents, to protect small businesses, and definitely to protect all the ecosystems.
Thank you. Ms. Lowers.
I think the overwhelming priority for Pine Lake has been the development of our Rockbridge corridor. We have less than a mile of kind of viable commercial space to work with, and a lot of what's going to be attractive there has to look beyond Pine Lake and its residents, but we need to be able to attract and sustain businesses that are appealing to the 20-some thousand people who commute on Rockbridge every day. We can't just serve ourselves, but we need to think more broadly. That said, I'd like to see some thoughtful development in terms of sustaining small businesses, minority business owners, and trying to build out an economic corridor that is consistent with Pine Lake's values overall. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Denabriga.
Yes, we have a very tiny downtown, and we have no industry. We have small businesses and commercial enterprises. So I would want to know how we could support our current business while we try to develop new enterprises? How can we support our current tax-paying businesses? And I'm not sure protection, the way the question is framed, I'm not sure the protection is what they need. I'm not sure from whom, but I would want to really generate some dialogue with them about what it is that would really support the development of their businesses as they are where they are. This has been very difficult because these businesses, these men and women work really hard and they don't want to come to any long ass meetings. And now maybe if you fed them breakfast and coffee, we could have a good dialogue, but we need to engage them in the solutions that we think might work for them. The other thing is we have some really interesting vacant properties that could be very creatively utilized. Again, not just for the benefit of the people who live in Pine Lake, but also the thousands of people that go down every day and our greater environment in DeKalb County. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nunez.
Wow, this is a great question because Stone Mountain is so ready for growth right now. But I believe the growth really needs to reflect who we are in the city. I think that we need to kind of create our own identity. We have the most visited park in the state of Georgia right here at the back door. So I think we need to lean into the tourism. We have an opportunity to revitalize our downtown with businesses and more businesses that residents and can enjoy and utilize, and that visitors remember their experiences after they leave and want to return. I don't want to lose our character of our city. I think that having more businesses would strengthen the shops that we have. I think we need to shape a unique downtown area and identity, something that creates something that we can honor our city for who we are today, while welcoming visitors and showing that how much we've progressed. I believe small businesses are the heartbeat of our city. I patronize our businesses here in town, and they should never feel left behind. But I think more businesses would generate more foot traffic in their doors. So economic growth doesn't mean that we have to lose our character at all. It just means we're going to create a downtown area that we're proud of here in Stone Mountain. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman.
Okay, so there's a push right now in Stone Mountain for mixed-use development and TODs and such, and that's great. But we have an infrastructure problem that can't support all of that, especially rapid pace growth. So we have to slow things down and make sure that we do things the right way with the encourage the right kind of development that also preserves the character of the community. What gets lost is, and I encourage businesses that serve the entire community. Oftentimes, we have businesses that only serve a certain sector of the community and ignores the entire the rest of the community. So then they complain that they're not getting the patronage that they desire, and a lot of times it's because you're not appealing to your market. So I encourage businesses that serve the entire community transparently and hire from the community. I believe we have dumped way too much money downtown for over 30 years and have nothing to show for it. So I believe that we need to start putting money in the community and developing the community to create fertile soil for businesses. When you create that fertile soil, the seeds of business will grow and prosper along with the community. The first question any investor asks, when you bring them a business plan is do you have a market for your product? And we have to make sure we have businesses that come to town with a market for a product. We have a challenged community in that it sees the median of our community is less than $50,000 a year. So we have to take those things into consideration and try to not displace people and leave them behind, but grow the community in a healthy and way that everybody prospers and do better, not just displace people and replace people. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hull.
Hi. So I think it is important to revitalize the Rockbridge Road corridor. There are some empty businesses that maybe we could entice businesses through tax incentives. Um, but I don't think Pine Lake is in danger of losing that small town feel. This is the type of city where you drive down the streets, and even if you are brand new and it's the first time you've been in there, everybody's going to wave to you and it's going to feel weird. Uh, but you'll quickly understand that this is something that we do here. I don't think we're in danger of losing that. And I do think it's really important for us as a city to maintain our relationships with the small businesses that already exist here. And I think the residents here do a really good job of pushing one another to uh, become patrons of the local businesses. They're recommended oftentimes through social media, and just invite these business owners to come to Pine Lake and experience the resources that we offer, the parks and the festivals. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. This next question is in regards to city's relationship with city staff, your council's relationship with city staff. How will you foster a working environment for our city employees while still maintaining rigorous oversight and accountability? We're going to start with Ms. Lowers.
So the council has oversight over the city staff, but we don't directly supervise them on a day-to-day basis. We have right now, again, I think the best staff the city has seen. They're the most engaged, responsible, and really elevated the level of professionalism that we could expect in City Hall. I would fall back on my experience as a manager for research teams and project teams, thinking about helping them to set uh, structured and achievable goals that are consistent with what we want to see in terms of our performance for our residents. So whether that is throughput or, time to respond to, resident inquiries. But I'd also like to help them develop in their own professional lives because that benefits us in return. Those folks are woefully underpaid right now, and showing interest in their development and how we can work together to help them realize their full potential and bring it back to us is, I think, good business sense for helping us keep the talent that we are really lucky to have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Denabriga?
Yes. So I think that my philosophy or approach is rooted in a mutual respect that's driven by an atmosphere or stance of curiosity and deep appreciation and the ability to ask the neutral question so that you can have a dialogue with people. Our staff is extremely well trained. They have expertise and knowledge that I could only dream of. And I have to respect that. And they have a lot to teach me. So I feel that treating them as the professionals they are is a really important part of it. And I think that part of the thing that I would want to reestablish, because I don't really know what we do now, but I'm a big believer in some open-ended mutual evaluation dialogue. How are you doing as a staff member? How am I doing as a council member? Am I doing everything that you think I could be doing to discharge my responsibilities? So I think it's just about creating that place where you can ask anything and you can hear anything. So I think I think that would be my basic approach to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nunez?
Well, I think council works best when respect is the standard. In our charter here in Stone Mountain, the city manager is responsible for his staff. I can only hold people accountable that I interact with, but I need to allow him to do his job, but never at the expense of their dignity. if you have issues with any of the staff, then I would take it to his staff. I would take it to the city manager. We've seen the damage that comes from berating employees or turning some of our council meetings into personal attacks. To me, that's not leadership. That's not how I would serve. That's never how I managed or led any business that I had before. Professionalism means allowing the staff to do their jobs, supporting the city manager. If you got questions or issues, you take it to the city manager for a resolution. On debate, we need to stay focused on the issues that serve our city residents and not focus on personality differences. I believe we have to work together as a team. Respect and professionalism has to be the standard at City Hall and Stone Mountain. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman?
Okay, so we're actually going through this right now. So I'm gonna have to tiptoe around the conversation, not so I don't say anything I'm not supposed to say. But I will say that we have implemented competitive salaries to promote stability in the staff. We try to give them the tools they need to do the job, and we encourage training and upskilling and promoting from within to so that they know that they're not in a dead end job and they can move up and they can improve. Um, and to help encourage that, we would do regular audits and performance reviews that are constructive and respectful. And that goes for empowering the managers and department heads as well to both be supportive and accountable. So be supportive to their employees, but also be accountable to their employees because um, best leaders are also followers. So if you can't follow, then you can't be a leader, and that's what promoting within actually helps. It helps promote it helps leaders create more leaders. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hull?
Yeah. Pine Lake has some really great employees right now, to echo some of my colleagues on this forum. But I think in order to retain these good employees and to recruit new talent in the future, we need to have a reputation for treating people with kindness and dignity. We also don't want a reputation of having low expectations. So I think, any business model or structure would have clearly defined job responsibilities, would have a clearly defined reporting structure, and that would fall under the city manager's purview. I think as a city council member, we are tasked with asking tough questions, finding out why we got a bid for X amount of dollars and, why don't we have any more bids? So we can take that knowledge back to our town halls for our constituents. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Kohler?
I agree with my other candidates. I really think there have been some great ideas expressed. The only thing I'd add for myself really is that I believe in transparency. I believe in accountability. I believe in very clear communication in all directions, right? So me being accountable, me holding other people accountable, having that same level of transparency. And I think there's a lot of room for improvement as far as how council can function better and taking suggestions from city employees and then also going in the other direction as well, based on what constituents report. And also, like, to kind of state what for me feels like stating the obvious is that I think conflict is inevitable with humans. We never just get along. It's never perfect all the time. And so what's important to me is to face conflict in a respectful and healthy way. I've put a lot of energy over the years to really cultivate a skill set that can hold, people being upset for me being wrong, for feeling like someone else is wrong, and being able to work through that to get to a solution that supports everybody, has some repair and continues the transparency and accountability. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. The next question is in regards to public safety. Beyond policing, what community-based initiatives or services would you support to address the root cause of crime? We'll start with Ms. Denabriga.
Well, I'm not sure we can actually address the root causes of crime, but I think we can deal with the consequences of it. So some of the stuff that I would like to see is for us to revitalize our community emergency response team, CERT, and revitalize our neighborhood watch, not as sort of like we're watching you, but that we have eyes on the street, that we're looking out for each other, that we noticed your paper hasn't come in for a couple of days. Part of that is maybe having block parties, which I've always wanted to do in Pine Lake. It would be perfect to do, but to create just more opportunities for the citizens to care for each other, because we know they do. I would love also to see more organized youth activities, including maybe some active mentoring. I think maybe a root cause of crime could just be sheer outright boredom. And so what can we do as a community to provide opportunities for engagement, learning, fun? Oh, yes, let's have a little fun. So I think it's all about activating the best qualities that we have as neighbors to look out for each other. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Nunez.
Oh, well, public safety to me is more than just seeing all the police cars on the street. It's also about community trust and pride. I think our police department here does a great job in community relationships and community policing. Feel very safe. I'm one of those people that can be out walking my dog at 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. I've been completely safe walking in our community. I think we have to support partnerships with nonprofits and young people. I'd love to fill up our parks with some young teams and programs that connect our neighbors and our community. I would advocate for safe and walkable streets, some really clearly marked crosswalks, because the city itself is very walkable. I'd like to utilize all of this so that most our children and our seniors could participate more in the outside activities and feel safe doing so. Safe communities aren't built through fear, they're built through connection. Learning our officers by name and face is a great experience here in the city. You have events, there's lots of hugs going on because we do have a good relationship with our police department here in the city of Stone Mountain. So public safety isn't political, it's about trust, respect, and every family and every resident feeling not only their personal safety, but they feel that their property is safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman?
I think our police department does a great job as far as keeping our community safe. We're largely a safe community. So typically the problems that we have are with our youth, not allowing them to manage their time on their own. We need to support our Parks and Recs department much better than we do. We need to invest in our scholars and give them programs, to invest in our schools and our scholars to give them the programs that they need to to better themselves and to have a sense of pride in where you live. We need to do and promote income equality, by creating training opportunities for people to improve their lives, because we don't want to just displace people and replace them with the citizens that some hope to have. We want to improve the community and grow together. So the other thing we need to do is have an equitable distribution of resources, because a lot of times we have an LCI program right now, and I made a complaint about it when we were going through it, but I was on the losing end of that boat. But we need to distribute resources throughout the city. One of the things that I did personally was I reached out to nonprofits to help build playgrounds. We had a playground in McCurdy Park that was burnt out and was not replaced for 6 years. So I came and got a new playground for the kids in McCurdy Park. I got a new playground for the kids in Leland Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Ms. Hull?
Yeah, I think there's a, a lot of facets for why there is crime. Pine Lake's pretty lucky in that we have a pretty low crime rate. And oftentimes I agree, it's probably bored kids, summer vacation, who are in its crimes of opportunity. So I think if citizens are more proactive, um, locking their car doors at night, that can curb a lot of the types of crime that we have here. Also, just community engagement. I know you said, you know, outside of policing, but maybe outside of traditional policing. So this past Saturday, there was a police officer, JB the Motivator, was out here in Pine Lake to do a community walk and just having more fun and engaging activities where we invite the community into our city and they get to know us and we get to know them. And yeah, that's what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kohler?
Yeah, this question is a lot. You know, the roots of crime is a complex thing, but I do think that generally speaking, community is the medicine. And again, I think there's a huge opportunity to create some community initiatives. And I think this is where having some town halls and kind of collecting people, you know, Pine Lake is full of teachers and musicians and gardeners and people who could really create some projects, invite the immediate city, but also broader members of our community. You know, we're near a university. There's a huge opportunity there for a lot of options. And so I would really like to support that sort of development. And then the other piece for me is I would want to ask the police, you know, what do they see and where are the opportunities to get outside of the typical responses, because they're the ones who are answering the calls and who often see the problems more than a lot of us do. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Lowers?
I'm a social scientist, so if you ask me about the root causes of crime, I'm really hard pressed not to start spouting off. But really pragmatically, I'd like to see slightly better street lighting. My street's real dark, and I'd like everybody to be able to benefit from feeling safe walking around at night in Pine Lake. I think we could do a little bit better with that with Georgia Power. But I think economic justice for us as Pine Lake ourselves and for us as part of things like the broader Memorial Drive redevelopment and other projects in the region, we need to think about how we maintain a range of housing affordability so that the financial strain of living in a rapidly more expensifying, because that's a word, urban region doesn't force people to have make difficult choices and have too few resources to go about their daily lives. In terms of the police, there are some folks among our neighbors who, because of national trends, are never going to trust the police. Their automatic response is that the cops are bad. I think our police force genuinely wants to serve and protect and be part of the community. And I think we should do everything we can to foster that engagement so that at least in our little city, people trust that when they call the police, someone helpful is going to show up.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. Now we'll talk about some more city-specific issues for the Stone Mountain City Council Post 4 candidates. Here's the question. There are noted conflicts at the leadership level. As the council member for Post 4, what is your specific plan to ensure that essential city services and legislative duties continue effectively regardless of conflicts at the leadership level in order to restore resident confidence in the day-to-day functioning of their government? We'll start with Mr. Freeman. Mr. Freeman, we need to unmute you, please.
How about now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not quite sure why that keeps happening. Is there a lot of noise in the background for me?
No.
Because I keep getting muted and I'm not doing it. So I was like
No.
auto muted.
The 90
Okay.
second. Yeah, you have to.
Okay. Well, anyway, so I'd love to say that we can all, hold hands and sing Kumbaya, but there's a lot of disingenuous people that have worked to undermine um one council member against another and so on and so forth. And it's got to a point where it's toxic. And but these people want to enrich themselves with real estate interests and at your expense and the expense of your generational wealth. So and the generational wealth of your children. But so when they say they'll do this improvement or that improvement, what they don't tell you is that you won't be here to enjoy those improvements because they will price you right out of your home. And that's where the council reaches our biggest conflict because some of us serve the people that we have that voted for us, and others of us serve the people that they wish to have someday. So when you're voting for people, you want to vote for the people that are serving you, not serving the interests of their own personal wealth and where they see the direction they seek the city to go in spite of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nunez.
Well, the recent conflicts in our city leadership really has shaken public trust. I believe the residents deserve council members who put service above self-interest. I think they all need to be transparent, and sometimes in some of the situations that we are currently under, that you become complicit when you ride the pony rather than stepping away and looking at all of the evidence and issues that are on or that are pressing the city. My plan is really simple. It's focusing on delivering core services, conducting meetings with civility and efficiency. I want to ensure transparency in how decisions are made. I will hold all leaders, including myself, accountable to the people that we serve because that's what we are elected to do. I will not waste time on personal agendas or online attacks. Instead, I'll really focus on bringing the business back to the city. We can't control the dysfunction of what's happened in the past, but we can set a new tone and a new standard in this next election. Thank you.
Thank you. For Pine Lake City Council candidates, here's your question. As a council member, how will you balance the practical needs of the city with its legal and moral commitment to protecting the natural environment, especially the health of the lake itself? We'll start with Ms. Lowers.
Very good. So everybody in Pine Lake, when I ask them what their top priority is for the city, they say the lake, but that could encompass a lot of different things, whether that's recreational or environmental preservation or something else entirely. A thing I've kind of become aware of in trying to get up to speed on city issues is what our role is as a watershed on Snapfinger Creek. We we punch above our weight with our wetlands and the lake in terms of making that creek better for the county. And in that sense, like we're like an itty bitty little Amazon rainforest that like benefits the whole planet, but we're small, and it's a parcel of land that we can't and don't want to use, but that has an economic cost. I'd like to see us working more aggressively with the region and the state to um, attach an economic benefit to what we're providing for the rest of Georgia by cleaning up stormwater and runoff. There are things like water quality credit trading that are used elsewhere in Georgia, and I'm just on the lookout for ways that we can attach money to something we all love.
Thank you. Ms. Hull.
Yeah, to piggyback off what Miss Lowers was saying, uh, the lake does seem to be the number one concern for the people I've talked with, and it's one of the reasons that I decided to run for city council. Um, Without the health of the lake, the health of the community suffers. Uh, One of the biggest problems, I think, is the flume that controls the water from Snapfinger Creek to our lake. And I know we are kind of bound right now with a engineering firm. It's bigger government problems. It's slowing things down, but we're headed in the right direction. I think maybe previously things just got kind of the can got kicked down the road, I guess.
Mm.
I am proud that the Atlanta Audubon Society designated us as a certified wildlife sanctuary. And the lake is a big part of that. So yes, we need to grow as a city, but not at the cost of our greatest attribute. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kohler.
I agree. The lake is the issue, and the lake is who we are. I mean, it's in our name, so of course it's always going to be central. I don't think that there's a deep conflict between being responsible to the practical needs of the city and our responsibility as stewards of the land. Um, it does mean making hard choices sometimes, but this is also where I think having more transparency and communication with residents in Pine Lake about what's going on will help. And also, again, an opportunity for all of us as residents to chip in. I'm not qualified in a lot of professional capacities to do things at the lake, but I'm all about organizing efforts to do the things that we can do, whether that's trash pickup or monitoring environmental factors or whatever it is, right? That there's a lot of expertise that's very deep in the city, and there's a lot of will, and I really just want to harness all of that energy and drive it forwards for something healthier in the ecosystem. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Denabriga.
Thanks. So I think it's clear that the city has the legal commitment to the lake, but I think that protecting the natural environment, that is a moral commitment that is really borne by the community and a shared responsibility. So I'd like to make sure that everyone really understands how the ecosystem works ideally. It's a complicated system, how the water comes in and out, how the vegetation affects it, how the rainwater, rainfall affects bacteria count, the integrity of the flume and the dam and the berm. All those things are technical issues that we could collectively become more informed of. So I think that if we know more about how the lake works as a little ecosystem, we'll be better prepared to help preserve its integrity. And I think that for me, one of the things I'd love to see is that people take personal responsibility for it. Something happened here just a few days ago that there was a motorboat on the lake. That's not allowed. And somebody spoke to the motorboat owner and said, hey, and I don't know what they did, but it was peacefully resolved. The motorboat went away. So if we could all get empowered to invite our neighbors in to share this responsibility as stewards, that'd be terrific. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. We will now prepare for audience candidate questions. Candidates, please be advised that these will be 60 seconds for these questions. Your answers, please. Okay, we're going to begin with federal law enforcement and local trust. As a local elected official, what is your specific stance on using city resources and personnel to assist with federal immigration enforcement? And how would you balance federal mandates with maintaining the trust of our city's immigrant communities? We're going to start with Ms. Nunez.
Well, thank you for that question. Well, City resources should never be used to target immigrant families. As a council member, I'll ensure that our police and staff really focus on protecting the residents and their rights, not enforcing federal immigration policy. That's not going to be the policy of the city of Stone Mountain. Every person in our city should feel safe accessing services, calling for the police if they need the help or need assistance. I think trust between the residents and city is non-negotiable.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman.
I walk the talk, so I don't just talk about what I would do. I do what I would do. And I believe that we should uphold the rights of the citizens with, ensuring all constitutional rights, even if you're not a citizen. If you're a person, you're entitled to due process. If you're a person on U.S. soil, you're entitled to due process. So I think that as council members, as local leaders, we should serve as a bridge between the state and the federal government to advocate for our residents, maintain oversight as to what the federal government is doing, and inform the residents of their rights, of what they can do to feel safe and protected in their homes. I think what happened at the plant down in Georgia is not Stone Mountain related, but I believe that is exactly the thing that should not happen. I think that was disruptive, and Hyundai didn't appreciate it, and I think we should defend against anything like that happening here within the law.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Ms. Hull.
Yeah, this question really hits home. I mentioned I'm a teacher and I work at a school that's over 90% Latino, and I've seen the fear. I would hope that our city already has a plan in place that I'm not familiar with. But if we don't have one, we definitely need one.
Okay.
I don't support intimidating immigrants in any form. So yeah, formulating an action plan if ICE were to come to our city, we need to have something in place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we need to be transparent about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kohler.
I agree with the transparency, and yes, I have the same thought that if there's not already some very explicit like SOPs or protocols for this situation, I think that's a really important conversation to have, hopefully as soon as possible. I know that there's a lot going on, but I do think it's important because due process is constitutional. It's also very personal for me as far as my mother's side of my family is immigrants. So it's very direct. I've worked with people in immigrant status in the US before, so I'm familiar with some of that parts of the process. But yes, ultimately safety is important, and sovereignty for people, and being very clear about our jurisdiction and how we're going to work within something that is not municipal is really important. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lowers.
I have a feeling the question asker is referring to House Bill 1105. The Georgia legislature last year passed really quickly the Lake and Riley Act. One of the things it does is makes it illegal for municipalities in Georgia to not cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. And if they do decline to cooperate, the state can withhold state funds. So it puts little communities like ours in a really difficult position in terms of trying to stay financially solvent, but also trying to live out the values of our residents. I'm horrified by the idea of ICE descending on Pine Lake. And I haven't seen a lot of good guidance online yet to help us, but I would hope that we could find ways to minimize the impact that Pine Lake will have on our immigrant residents and neighbors.
Thank you. Ms. DeNabriga.
Wow. Well, I want to categorically say that I oppose the federal overreach. I find it unconstitutional and immoral, and would like to uh, resist in every way possible. So I love the idea. I think we do need a plan. I don't know that we've got one. If whoever gets elected, let's pinky swear we're going to get it. We got to make it. I think that we need to have a clear understanding of what the consequences are. So if our state funding is withheld, what does that mean? What state funding do we get? What are the consequences? I think that cities are particularly important players in this political moment as sites of resistance and possible recovery. We are small, we're nimble, we have access to our constituents in a way that no other form of government has. Cities are powerful, and I want us to step into that power. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is on civil unrest and state level intervention. We have seen instances where governors have deployed the National Guard to respond to protests in cities. If that were to happen in our region, what do you see as your specific role and responsibility as a city official in that moment? We're going to start with Mr. Freeman. Mr. Freeman, unmute yourself, please.
Okay. I guess the importance to me is that it's much like the previous the citizens need to understand their rights. So one thing I would do is communicate the rights and make sure that everybody understands what their rights are. If the National Guard were to come and respond and protest, typically I've never seen an instance where in recent times where it was justified that the National Guard was there. It seemed to be politically motivated. And so I think you know, try to promote de-escalation amongst law enforcement and amongst the citizens. But to absolutely peacefully protest, maintain any local oversight that we have, and make sure that there's clear transparency and information available as to why what's being done is being done, whether it's justifiable or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hull?
Yeah. I think that is an overreach to deploy the National Guard, and if that were to come to Pine Lake, where people are free to protest. Hopefully the protests are peaceful in nature and don't get rowdy. I'm shocked thinking about that here in Pine Lake, but it could happen, right? And so my role would be to be a mouthpiece for peace and responsibility, and let the police handle that side of things as far as communicating with the mayor and the National Guard. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kohler?
I think this is another really important question. As far as if that happens in this region, and what I see as a city council role and responsibility is to be a channel for information, as far as, not just who is immediately impacted, but just, if something is happening in Clarkston or something is happening downtown, that hopefully people can be as informed as is possible. I would also like to be a channel for resources beyond just information. Pine Lake has some spaces where people can gather. I have, for a brief time, worked with aid workers as part of my professional work. And yeah, sometimes you just have to set up an area and pass out supplies and help people figure things out. And I think that Pine Lake, again, has a lot of supportive citizens with a lot of skills, and we could chip in if needed. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Lowers?
Yeah. First and foremost, I want to make sure that our residents have their constitutional right to peaceably assemble. And we're a politically minded community, and I know a lot of us have participated in other, exercises of our civil rights around the region. If we're in a situation where there's federal overreach to suppress that, then I think we can help as a city by establishing procedures to ensure that people can peaceably assemble, that everybody can express themselves in a way that keeps them safe and works with the city and the community that we've got. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. DeNabriga?
Definitely, I agree with the provision of information and resources and the strong encouragement and support to exercise our constitutional rights of assembly and freedom of speech. And I would say that I would be prepared to be rowdy, a little bit rowdy, not violent. But the thing that also I want to bring to this conversation is a cautionary note that we don't demonize the National Guard. These are young men and women who have joined often out of economic necessity or social pressure. They're often young. They're not trained for this particular mission, perhaps. But I want to make sure that we don't let this government polarize what is already a polarizing environment by just trying to hold a compassionate heart for everybody in the situation.
Thank you. Ms. Nunez?
Wow. If the state attempted to deploy the National Guard here in Stone Mountain, I think my role would really be to protect the residents' rights here, keep the communication open so they're aware of what's happening in or around the city. That means really kind of standing with our community, ensuring peaceful protest is respected and allowed, and working with other fellow leaders to keep the focus really on safety and de-escalation. I think that leaders should use this opportunity to calm the tensions and not inflame them, but deliver good communication.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you, candidates. We have one more question that we're going to get in. This one is on voting rights and municipal responsibility. While DeKalb County officially runs our elections, national debates around voting excess directly impact our citizens. What specific, tangible actions would you champion as a local official to make voting easier and more accessible within our city limits? We will start with Ms. Hull.
Gosh, this is a hard question for me to answer because Pine Lake consistently has some of the highest percentage of voters in the state. We're lucky, we have our own polling place right here in the city. It is walkable to everybody. I guess I would just put out there that people should check their voter registration to make sure they have not been dropped off the rolls. It's so important that you have your voice because it's getting taken away at an alarming rate. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kohler.
I have the same experience as far as I've lived in places where the polling places were very overtaxed in terms of crowds, and I've waited hours to vote. But I haven't experienced that here. It doesn't seem to be as huge of a problem. Something that I have taken as far as just my campaign time as I'm knocking on doors is I'm leaving everybody a letter, and there's some information about me, but also I included a set of links, and there's a piece about checking your voter status, There's a piece around early voting if that's necessary, a piece around absentee voting if you need it, and then also just a reminder of the election. Because it is super convenient if you can vote on election day in Pine Lake. But if not, it's also very easy to find alternatives. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Lowers?
Echoing the above, voting in Pine Lake is an absolute joy, and I think it'll stay that way for our neighbors. In recent months, our city council's news blast has gotten a lot more inclusive in terms of pointing our residents toward other regional, state, federal programs, things like tax relief for the elderly, and so forth. And I'd like to see this pushed out too, so that people can make plans for early voting or absentee voting if that's what they want to do. If our sister organization, Plain, our neighbors association, wanted to organize rides or something like that, I think that would be fantastic. Probably not a city move, but I think as a community, we're exceedingly pro-vote. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Denabraga?
Gosh, I don't know what would make it easier and more accessible, unless they gave us a hot chocolate with a marshmallow on it. I mean, it's so close, and we have a great staff, a polling staff. I think that I would maybe concentrate on voter registration. I'm not sure. I do know that there are people in Pine Lake who are not registered. And so we could collaborate with, there's a sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha, that does voter registration. There are many other groups that do that are dedicated to voter registration. I'd love to see us really ramp that up. And I really, I think the only other thing would be to really figure out what's happening on the county level and get involved. And several of our people are doing that. So I think it's a way of aggregating information from them about what's happening with the state and county legal stuff.
Thank you. Ms. Nunez?
Well, even though the county really runs our elections, as a city, there's things that we can do to make probably voting easier. We recently changed our polling location, so I think that's going to be important that we get it out, that we've relocated that location. But I would just push for good, clear communication about the polling locations, the last day to register, early voting dates, and most importantly, if you don't hit those, you make it November 4th to the booth to make your voice heard by voting for your candidate. It also means maybe making sure you're providing transportation to seniors or families that might need it. Voting is a foundation of our democracy. Our job is to make it accessible and help people get to the polls and vote. I think one of the things that we all could probably do better that I'm learning is a lot of people don't understand how important municipal elections are. People understand state elections, they understand federal elections, but they don't understand how important their municipal election is. So I think we could do a better job in getting people to our local municipal election. Thank you.
Mr. Freeman?
Okay, so I think one thing that we need to address is the proximity of the early voting locations. We don't have a great number of people that participate in voting. Sometimes we have 5, 10%. We have a council member now that would, out of a voting pool of 4,200, he won and he only got 214 votes. I try to tell people the importance, so we got to get the information out and probably work with nonprofits to offer that offer transportation services. One of the things that I try to tell people that it's so important to vote is because you amplify as local leaders, you amplify our voice with state and federal leaders. So Hank Johnson gave $5 million to Clarkston, Decatur, and Tucker a few years back, and I was like, look, Tucker votes at 80%, we're voting at 10%. If you give us if I go to Hank Johnson's office and he knows I'm voting at 10%, and one of the Tucker council members goes there and they're voting at 80%, guess who's going to get that money, or who's most likely to get that money? Not to say that Hank doesn't take care of it, because he does when he can, but that is one of the main things that benefits. You amplify our voice, so we have to make it easier for you to vote.
Thank you all. Okay, we are going to go ahead and begin our closing statements. Okay, so for each one of the candidates, you will each have 90 seconds for your closing statements. Okay, so we will go ahead and begin with Ms. Kohler.
Thank you. I just want to say thanks to all of y'all who were working behind the scenes and setting this up, and DeKalb Democrats. It's just been really tremendous, and it just feels really good to be here. I'm grateful to be here with the other panelists or other candidates, and just really grateful that I have the opportunity to do this. It's just a lot of things to hold, but I'm around. I'm slowly working my way through Pine Lake door to door. So if you're not home, I'll leave you a letter. And I think the only other piece I'd share is that one of the things that appeals to me about this whole process is that it's not actually my decision. That my decision is to say that I'm willing to do the job, that I think I'm qualified to do the job, but I don't, it's democracy, it's not self-appointment. So I really appreciate that the decision on this isn't mine, and it's in all the voters. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to the rest of this process and the Pine Lake Candidate Forum in October. And I'm around, so if you see me, feel free to flag me over and we can have a chat. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Ms. Lowers.
Right. Well, for the Pine Lake residents on, you have 4 candidates and 3 open seats, and I hope you saw something tonight that was inspiring. Big thanks to the DeKalb Democrats for having us and organizing this. In terms of city council, the city council has a tough job in terms of working with a tight budget and a lot of immediate year-to-year priorities, as well as balancing the long-term planning for the health of our community and, sustaining who we want to be. In addition to the day-to-day work of running city operations, a couple of things I'd like to see in the long term uh, are aligned with, kind of my research and professional interests. One is trying to make Pine Lake something that works for multiple generations. I'm especially interested in looking at ways that our community can help our older neighbors, especially those living alone, age in place, continue to live independently. And I'm interested in working with the region and county to see what services and programs we can make available to our residents. The other thing is we're a tiny city, and sometimes that comes at a premium for things like health insurance. I'd like to see us band together with other small municipalities and look at things like health insurance to see if we can get better rates.
It's a great idea.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Denabraga?
Yeah, that's a great idea, Jane. We should do that. Deep gratitude for pulling this together. It is, I'm very proud to be swimming in this democratic soup again, this democratic process. As been stated, we have 4 candidates. I think that really you're not going to go wrong with any 3 of us. I do know what the job is. I have done the job. Ask folks who've been here for a while how they think I did the job. You will find some people who don't think that great, but a healthy debate is healthy. So, and it would be an honor to serve again. I have the time, I have the commitment, I have the energy. I think that's all I want to say. It's a real pleasure to hear this exchange of ideas, and I've gotten so many good ideas from the Pine Lake women. And if we don't do those things that you talk about, I'm going to go to city council and complain myself. So anyway, thank you very much for stepping up to run. It means a lot. We don't always have 4 people for 3 slots. So that's a healthy, healthy sign. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nunez?
Thank you. Thank you for this invite today. Stone Mountain actually deserves leaders who will respect and listen with compassion, act with integrity. For 26 years, I've been a proud resident of the city. I love the city. I raised my family here. I've built my life here with my husband. I believe the best days are still ahead of us. As your council member, I promise to not waste your time or your tax dollars or your trust. I will serve with integrity. I will drive progress in this city. I will focus on unity. I want to restore dignity to City Hall. I want to thank the DeKalb Dems for hosting this forum and everybody for watching. Because you really want to be informed voters, and informed voters can make great decisions about how we move our city and our communities forward. So because of this, I want to move us forward. I hope that you come along with me because every voice of every resident needs to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman.
Okay, so I want to say that I know what civility is, and some of the people that can claim civility might want to show it when they come to a meeting. I'm transparent. I walk the talk. You know who I am. You know what I'm thinking. I don't say one thing and do another. You don't have to wonder if you'll be able to continue living in the city in a few years, because I will do what it takes to protect um, residents and their with legacy tax protection. And in other words, and in the words of Kennedy, you can't negotiate with people who say what's mine is mine and what's yours is negotiable. Um,
Mhm.
we should serve the city that we have, not the city that some wish to have it at the expense of others. In my time on council, the assistance with the assistance of the mayor, Councilmember Bryant, Councilmember Monroe, we have lowered the millage rate every year. I partner with nonprofits to revitalize our parks for the profit for our children's health, both mental and physical. We protected small businesses like Williams from being ambushed on short notice due to hidden agendas. And again, in the words of Reverend Joseph Lowry in the morning, will words become deeds that meet needs? Thank you. And thank you, DeKalb Dems. It's just great to be home.
Thank you. And Ms. Hull.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this forum. It's been a really wonderful experience, especially to hear from my fellow candidates here in Pine Lake. I agree that no matter who is elected come November 4th, that we will be in a good place next year, the year after, and moving forward. So I do think that I have the personality that works well with others. I listen very well. And I'm not a professional researcher like Miss Lowers, but as someone who got a master's in English literature, that is something I like to do, is reading and researching. And I'm so interested in the law and helping my city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again, candidates. We really appreciate you being here this evening and sharing your time with us. And I appreciate you guys as well, the DeKalb Dems, for having me as the moderator for this evening as well. I'm going to now turn the program back over to our committee chair, Ms. Brandy White.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Taranika. Everyone, thank you so much for being here this evening. This has been a wonderful panel. I have enjoyed hearing from each of you, learning more about your cities and what you plan to do from a platform level to improve your cities here in DeKalb County. Thank you to everyone who has joined us this evening for this forum. I hope that you have learned a lot about each of these candidates. We have some fantastic candidates for each of these city council races. Just as a quick reminder, city council meetings are a vital part of our local government, and they are open to the public. So we encourage everyone to attend their local meetings and stay informed and make your voices heard, as you heard some of the candidates talking about this evening. You should be able to find schedules and agendas for your city council meetings on your city's websites for both Pine Lake as well as Stone Mountain. I do want to thank again our moderator this evening, Taranika Carter, as well as our special events team and our tech team for all of the hard work. They are all volunteers, so thank you for everyone who is putting in the work to make these forums happen and make sure that we are protecting our democracy. Thank you again for everyone for being here, and I'm going to pass it over for some last remarks to our special events chair, Hillary Lind.
Thank you so much, Brandy, and thank you to the candidates for joining us tonight on today's forum. We really appreciate everyone taking their time to join us tonight and taking a moment out of your schedule. Bear with me one second. Sorry. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties over here. As Brandy stated, our local elections are very important. In the chat, we have dropped various links for Pine Lake and Stone Mountain, where you guys will be able to click on that. We also have dropped the link for the YouTube video that will be live, that's recording live right now, and you have an opportunity to share that with your social media. We also have upcoming forums through October 8th that will be available through Mobilize. You can sign up for that as well. Again, we thank you for attending tonight's forum. If you have the opportunity, if you can please go to the DeKalb Dems website, the volunteer, donate. We are able to continue to do things like this as you donate and contribute to the committee. On the screen right now are the dates for the upcoming forums. Again, donate, sign up for the next forum, and we thank you for attending tonight.